So, my name is Connie, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about Jacob Hess and John W. All the information that I am going to relate is from this packet. Now, I understand that some of you didn't get it, and not to worry, because we have the ways and means today to burn it on CD. And we have it in two formats, whether it's PDF or Word. So if you want to come and track me down, we'll get one burned for you and give it to you, and then that way you can email it. It is emailable size, so you can email it to your family. First off, Jacob Hess. He was born in 1792 in Washington Township. I can see some of you checking and making sure I've got the dates right. I appreciate that. I have this thing of saying 19 with everything. So he was the second of 13 children. His parents were John and Catherine Hess. John, his father, he was born in 1767, died at the age of 52 years without a will. And you can see documentation about his land records that go back 5 years in this will of the courts. Jacob was 27 years old when his dad died in April of 1819. Moving on, though, to Jacob, who is the father of John W., which is why we're here. Jacob and Elise Faust were married in 1816. They were both born in the same area, Franklin County, Pennsylvania. They were married, or they were baptized in March of 1834. David Evans came and he preached to them, and they accepted the gospel. John W., his mother, his dad, and his 3 oldest sisters joined all at the same time. Yes?
What did you say Jacob's wife's name was?
Jacob's wife's name was Elizabeth Faust. Thank you. And like I say, a lot of it is in this family history thing that we went to. There was a really interesting story that was reprinted in the Juvenile Instructor, if anyone remembers those, 1892. And I've included the internet website so you can click on that or go on to that and read it. But for those who are not familiar with this is Recollections of Joseph Smith by John W. Hess. It starts out with introducing John W. as one of the presidency of the Davis Stake of Zion, residing in Farmington County. And John W. says this: "In the autumn of 1838, my father lived in Ray County, Missouri, near the Richmond Landing. Joseph the prophet, in company with his brothers Hiram and William, and 11 others whose names I do not remember, had been up in Caldwell County. They were getting the layout for the city of Far West. When they got to the Missouri River, they found out that they couldn't return to Kirkland as easy as they thought, or as quickly as they thought, because the boat only ran at high water, and so there was a little bit of a problem there with the water level. And so it wasn't regular. Father, being the only Mormon in that area, Joseph Smith went to his house, and father, remember, is Jacob Hess. At the time, Joseph was studying Greek and Latin. And when he got tired studying, he would go and play with the children in their games about the house to give himself exercise. Then he would go back to his studies as before. John W. says, I was a boy about 14 years of age. He used to take me up on his knee and caress me as he would a little child. I relate this to you to show the kindness and simplicity of his nature. I never saw another man like Joseph. There was something heavenly and angelic in his looks that I never witnessed in the countenance of any other person. During his short stay, I became very much attached to him and learned to love him more deeply than any other person I'd ever met, my father and mother not excepted. The next time I saw the prophet was at Richmond County Courthouse in chains after the surrender of the city of Far West. I used to walk 6 miles every day to see him during his stay in Richmond jail. Although a boy of about 14 years, I became convinced beyond doubt that he was the prophet of God, and that testimony has never left me. And as evidence through the life of John W., and you'll learn a little bit more about it today, he had a strong testimony. He, like good many of the saints in those times, when they were expelled from one county, losing everything, they went to the next one. When they were expelled from that one, they went to the next one. They were all survivors, and that's why we're here. In Mount Pisgah, when they ended up being exiled, sorry, I got too many pages here. I'll just read just little snippets here. The saints were expelled from Missouri. They went to Illinois, settled in Hancock County. They settled the land, they made the farm, they built a comfortable home. At this time, Jacob Hess, I read one account that said he had a stroke. Here they're just talking about a paralysis, that he lost the use of one side. And so what that was, I'm not too sure. It could have been a stroke, it could have been a mosquito bite that caused some disease or what, I don't know. But for whatever reason, he was basically rendered unable to help. And when they were expelled from that location, they had to lay him in a bed in a wagon because he couldn't sit up. And that's how he journeyed on to Mount Pisgah. And that was in November of 1845. We have a lot of descendants here from Emmeline Bigler. She was wife number 1, and they were married in November 2nd, 1845. And she traveled with him across the plains and through the Mormon Battalion area. She traveled with him at that time as well. April 4th, they started out on their journey towards Mount Pisgah, and he said that they started across the Mississippi River and camped on the Ohio side the first night in drenching rain. And I know we've all read accounts of pioneers and what they went through in those times, and I just can't imagine giving birth on a trail or losing a loved one on a trail, but that's what our ancestors did. Progress was very slow. They were had 2 wagons, had 2 yoke of oxen, 1 per wagon. Father occupying the 1 wagon and all his needs, so that everything else went on the other family wagon. Everybody else walked. The father rode, Jacob rode, but all the children walked. When they reached Mount Pisgah, they constructed a temporary shelter of bark, which they peeled off the elm trees there, and they made the shelter for Jacob, realizing that there's no way that him and his wife and family could not go any further. So John W. left his parents there and his sisters there, and he went on to Council Bluff. In Mount Pisgah, they have a reconstructed cabin there on the grounds, and they've also got a memorial monument for all those that died. And I've heard varying accounts from 300 to 800 people that passed on at Mount Pisgah. Jacob was one of them in 1846. Thomas Hayes, who was Polly's husband, Polly being the sister of John W., he also died in 1846. And Polly herself passed away in 1850. Now Polly, before she passed away and after Thomas died, she'd had 2 children with Thomas, and she married Abraham Workman. So those of the family of Workman, Abraham was the father of Caroline, who later became the wife of John W. So there's another tie-in there for you. Mount Pisgah, for a number of people, not just the Hess, became a place of sorrow. They lived there. At one time there was 2,000 saints that were there. Thousands of acres were planted of peas and corn and beans and those things, the pioneers coming across could take part in not only the Mount Pisgah or gardens, but also at Council Bluffs. There were gardens there. I am grateful for John W. and for his sacrifices, and I think of his father riding in that wagon as far as he did, and my heart goes out to him. Those bumpy rides and dust and dirty and rain and little food, I'm sure, but we have a lot to be proud of in our family organization.